Hey guys, we're live. Excuse me, I just had a couple of little difficulties there. Thank you everyone for joining us once again on the show. Today I've got a very special guest, an exciting guest, and a great discussion about to happen. Before we get started, I hope you've all had a wonderful break over the Christmas and New Year's, and I would love for you guys to let me know if you're coming in live and where you're coming in from. One of the things I'm really grateful for, and one of the things I've been able to do, is connect with this very wide audience. Just to let you know, we're going live today on LinkedIn, Facebook, and also YouTube. So please drop a comment. Let me know. Give us a little bit of engagement to let me know where you're coming from. And I just wanted to give you a bit of a rundown. Today we've got Adam Grant. Adam's just got out 12 months ago after spending 27 years locked up in the Michigan Department of Corrections. Adam Grant came to the understanding that he had a responsibility to his family, to the community, and even to his past. While still in prison, he advanced his education. He began facilitating groups and classes for other men in the facility and set his feet firmly on the path of redemption. I love that. Guys, the show's called Under Construction with Danny A. Shannon, and I think that topic is really quite fitting because if you take a look at my surroundings, I'm in the garage, which is actually also my office, funny enough. And if you just have a look here, I've got the shovel. It looks a bit sus, doesn't it? But I'm talking about the tools of recovery and the tools that I've been given today as a result of my experience, my lived experience and my experience in recovery. So Under Construction with Danny A. Shannon. Please stand by as I introduce Adam to the screen. Adam, you're on live, mate. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I'm representing a couple of my friends over there, including Lucas. That's why I'm wearing this shirt.
I wonder if Lucas. Look at Adam. You're not going to believe it. Lucas is actually on screen with us.
All right.
Hey, Adam, it's an absolute honor to be chatting with you. One of the things I was just saying in the introduction that I love about LinkedIn and maybe social media on a whole is this ability to connect with people all around the globe, mate. So, and just for the sake of it, you and I had never even had a chat until 2 minutes ago. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Adam, I hear you've spent, and only just been released almost 12 months ago, but you spent over 27 years locked up in Michigan Department of Corrections. Is that right?
Absolutely, for a bank robbery that I committed in 1993.
Holy shit, man! You know, Adam, you and I were just having a bit of a chat, and I like to. We talked about the difference between bank robbery and armed robbery. Over here, I believe we call it armed robbery, but bank robbery is like one level above that. Is that right?
Yeah, they call it a floater here, which means that they can give you any number of years to life, and they kind of took that seriously with me. They gave me some serious numbers. I know that.
That's a long time, man, to spend locked up away from the community. And one of the things I'd love to chat with you today about is how, well, maybe what it was like for you to come back into the community. I know I work with men being released from prison often, and I know some of the smallest little things that we take for granted, I take for granted. A mobile phone, a bank card, those little things. What was your experience with that?
There was a lot of things that, I did my best to stay abreast of things and not hide. You know, a lot of people when they're in prison, they act like the outside world doesn't exist. I kind of lived in two worlds at once because I didn't want to have it. But the funniest thing that hit me weird is like self-checkout lines in the grocery store. You know, I didn't quite know how to do that. I always felt like somebody was watching me for me to somehow, you know, try and get over on the system or something like that. But for the most part, you know, I think I realized recently that my adjustment only been about me, but I came out 2 months before it started. So everything's that kind of slowed down anyway. The groups aren't as big. I haven't had some of the same challenges that I think the average person has, or let alone a person of color or a person, a woman. I've got some advantages coming out as a 50-year-old white male in America, and I recognize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I can
I
imagine,
imagine.
look, before I go into that, let me take the video. Right, it looks like we've got a little bit of feedback. And just to let you know, we've got a couple of people coming in saying hello. There's a little bit of an echo. Thank you, Antenica, and a couple of other comments here. But please let us know if you are watching. I turned the volume down a little bit if that's coming in here and now, mate. And to move forward with that, Adam. I love that you've acknowledged that maybe you've had a little bit easier. That's very humble of you to say such. I mean, it's a massive thing to be put back into society through such a crazy time, isn't it? Yeah.
I was actually working as a canvasser, as a person who gets signature signs and stuff over here in the States, and so started was in front of the Secretary of State, where we get our driver's license and that when they closed it down. Michigan State's University's campus when they shut it down, and then that Sunday, my bosses called and said they were shutting the whole thing down. So it was an interesting adjustment.
Do you know? Yeah, I can imagine. Adam, funny enough, just this morning, it's actually 1 a.m. I mean 1 p.m. Here, what time is it there where you're at?
It is 9 o'clock. 9
p.m.
8 p.m. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, just this morning I connected with Lucas Carey, and it's funny. It's funny how the world, because I thought, I wonder what, and you got nothing but a great rap from Lucas, and I thought it's amazing how such a global, massive world, and I get put in the path of Lucas. I mean, him just got off a phone call on the way. He asked me to bring up a little story. He asked me to bring up the purple shirt with you.
That's what I'm wearing, man. I'm wearing the purple shirt. Don't talk like feet or anything like that while we're on here, but
Let's go, babe. Good stuff. Yeah, we and one of the things I did this morning was a little bit of research, or I looked in a little bit more to your story, and I watched that video that's on your LinkedIn profile. And one of the things you talk about, and something I'm really, really passionate about, is gratitude. You mentioned it a couple of times in that short film. Talk to me a little bit about that, please.
Well, first, that video I did for prisoners 2.5 weeks after I was released. That organization is amazing, especially Michigan prisons. They do the one thing that I think is missing from the system. They humanize everybody, and one thing is that they care. Not only grateful for them, grateful, for every opportunity that. After 7 years, remember, I'm 50 years, and I've pretty much done 31 years of my life incarcerated. So there's a juxtapositioning of that natural place, and everything that I do, if opportunity I get, what the alternative is. Like we just had COVID Christmas, but it was still a Christmas out here with my loved ones, even if in smaller groups. My fiance and I got an opportunity. The organization that I work through, we adopted 2 families for Christmas. And so we got to go out and buy coats for the kids and stuff like that. And that was the best part of my Christmas right there, was being able to give back to other people and be grateful for that opportunity to do so.
Congratulations to you to be out for Christmas. So this is your second Christmas out in a row, isn't it? Oh, it's the first one. Yes. Oh, because yes, you released a year ago.
Now. A little bit of a backstory, because a lot of people will say, oh, well, he's got his stuff together. He couldn't have been. This is my first Christmas since 1987, And in 1987 on Christmas Eve, this is not something of, but this of backstory. I stole my mother's car and her alcohol. So I haven't been out for a Christmas since that. And she and I got to spend together this Christmas too, and do a lot of a lot of mending. And I mean, it's been a beautiful thing. I'm blessed.
Yeah, man. Look, you just remind me of something there. You remind me of that journey of our past and the mistakes that, you know, people like yourself and maybe me made. But what I guess the end result is the work that you are doing today is very special, which is how we managed to connect. But not forgetting that, you know, yeah, it's a living amends that we continue to do, isn't it? You know, meeting with your sister for that time is sort of us trying to make amends and to give back. Would you say?
Oh, absolutely. I think I've got a lot of favorite quotes, but I love the idea of the best apologies behavior. And that's that's one of the things that I've told, you know, in friends is because I've always been able to talk. I've always been able to talk a good game, but my feet didn't always match my mouth. And so this time around, I said, I'm not going to tell you about it. I'm going to be about it. So just kind of what I'm doing, we'll pass, and you'll figure that out. And they have, like you said, tomorrow is my 1 year mark. And since 1986, when I was a juvenile, I've never had this much time out. And it's like, it's hard to explain. I'm old, but it's not an issue when you're doing the right. That extra supervision is not an issue. All it is and I'm doing the right things anyway. So yeah, the best apology is behavior, and I apologize and I make amends every day of my life and everything that I do. So
yeah, absolutely, I believe in that wholeheartedly. Adam, would you share with us a little bit about what you're doing these days?
A couple different things. I'm working 60 or 70 hours, but I'm doing things that I love. It's definitely worth it. The first job that I got is as a recovery coach, and basically that is experience. It's kind of like a paralegal is to a lawyer, other than the fact that a paralegal doesn't have lived experience. So I share experiences with my clients and the people that I work on a peer level. It's not on a clinical level. It's just basically letting them know some of the things that I've done, some of the obstacles that I've overcome, and being a unique voice and resource for them to be able to tap. Especially when I'm working with the juveniles, you should see the look when I start serving 27 years in prison. They perk right up and pay a little bit more attention. Yeah. But the other job that I'm doing is also recovery community and coordinator for the Jackson area recovery community, which is a recovery community organization located in Jackson, Michigan. And a lot of what we do with that is we're putting on, you know, different kind of events. And to me, it's a lot about prevention, education, and stigma reduction. Because there's a lot of stigma around recovery, just as there's a lot of stigma about being a returned citizen, you know, somebody who's done. And I don't believe a person held captive to their past. So, yeah, that's part of the reason why I do things like this and talking to people like you who are also involved in the recovery community, clear on the other globe. Talked about this before the show. This is the binds us all. We've all been tied together. We're all like 1 degree away, you know, from somebody in recovery or having our own issues directly tied to it. So yeah, that's the work I'm doing right now, and I love it.
It's so true. I mean, like one of the things you said something earlier before the show, in just the 2 minutes we were speaking, that I caught on to the language you were using. And I said, oh, you're in recovery, the same type of recovery I do. And I love that connection we've got. And I also love that, yeah, like you said, I believe, and one of the things I love about sharing these experiences. That every single person out there, this is what I've come to, that every person out there is affected in some capacity by a loved one, themselves, someone who's been affected by addiction or alcoholism. And I love sharing that message of hope and love and, and change, I guess, we've got that. We're blessed.
Absolutely. And I think some of the most real people that I've ever met are people in recovery because they've been through the fire. They're not just rainbows and unicorns, and they're not, I'm sure you've probably heard of the pink cloud of recovery where everybody just thinks everything's great. They're not usually on that because they usually understand. They've been through the tougher times and they understand and appreciate where they're at and the work took to get there. We've done some work. We've come a long way,
but we've got a long way to go.
Always.
Hey, that pink cloud, that's a nice little time because it does exist, doesn't it? It's like that little time where everything changes so dramatically, and it's a really dangerous time because you can become complacent, and things can very quickly fall apart.
Yeah, you can lose perspective, but I also think important that you get that because it buys you some time where you're not so immersed in the struggle of it. So as long as you can balance those things and understand that things are going to get difficult. One of the things that I always work with as a peer recovery coach is always, what are going good. My question is, what are we doing to make sure that you're prepared for when the times aren't so good? And that's the whole key with this, because I've got in March, it'll be 18 years for me in recovery. But that doesn't mean that I still don't have my occasional challenges. They're just few. They're between, and they don't stick around as long. They're more trans.
We become better at it. Hey, we'll just pause for a second. I just wanted to know, apparently there's a bit of an echo. I think it might be coming from your device. It could be coming from my device. The fact is, and I just want to acknowledge, thank you so much, Kenneth, for letting us know that. There's probably nothing we can do about that at this stage. I think you're coming in pretty clear. Also, I just want to say hello to Lucas if you're still there, mate. Thank you for the shout out. We've got people coming in from Adelaide, Western Australia, New South Wales, from the USA. Absolutely. Hi, Anna. Thank you for that's a nice to smile. Anna also said you're walking, or somebody said you're walking the walk, Adam. Very
absolutely.
True. We need to
maybe these headphones will help. I'm going to try and see if that helps with the echo. So
wonderful, mate. I think. Look, I've got a microphone in front of me. I'm pretty inexperienced at this whole thing. We're just doing our best, Adam, to share the message of recovery. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Let us know if anyone's still watching. If there's an echo still now with Adam with his headphones on, that would be great. So, Adam, what's next for you? What does the next 12 months look for you? One of the things that I really admire, and I am inspired by yourself and many other people out there on the LinkedIn and Facebook platforms around people who are, entrepreneurs trying to make some money and do their best and develop their passions into some type of business. Do you have anything? What's next for you?
I'm not exactly sure, what is next because I believe in kind of, going where you're supposed to be and then pivoting where you get where you're there. And I believe like my job at Home and New Vision, doing this JART coordinator's position, the first word in the title is home. And I genuinely believe that I've found my home with the Home and New Vision. That doesn't mean that I won't do other things, because like one of the things that I've got going on right now is I'm working with a friend of mine who is still inside. He's been in for 36 years. His name's Troy Chapman. He wrote a book called Stepping Up that I recommend to everybody. we ran a wholeness ethics class based around this book for years. And so we've got a platform that we're developing called Wholeness Engineers. And the reason why we chose that title is because we're building something every day. And so we're building this idea of wholeness. And one of the biggest things that, especially with somebody who's done some time, understands is that the definition of justice has kind of been bastardized and turned into this really narrow version of it. And our version of justice is doing what is needed in order to be whole, not what is deserved for not being whole. So if we're thinking about what people need, and that's what recovery is all about, if we're thinking about what people need, then one of the things we have to do is assess who they are and what they actually need in order to address that thing, So that's my big thing for the next 12 months is that I'm hoping that Wholeness Engineers, get some traction, and we start getting more people who are building wholeness and recover the life that we're all meant to be living.
Do you know what, Adam? I had the opportunity a few years ago to come to the States, and I came with my best mate, and we went on a recovery journey, right? So we landed in LA, and we hired a Mustang, and we drove up to Las Vegas. Then we picked up an RV, a camper van, we call it back here in Oz, and we drove all the way to Florida and then up to New York, right? The trip of a fucking lifetime. Like I talk about every day, 3 years down the track. Now, what I wanted to touch on is you just mentioned recovery houses. And one of the things I got to do, or recovery clubs, I think they were, like, mate, the recovery in America just spun me out. I loved it. And I was inspired so much by everybody doing their best to survive, and some brilliant minds and entrepreneurs over there in America. And they truly inspired me to come home and start my own tech startup. I've got a web platform, which you and I haven't talked about, but a little bit similar to what you're talking about. But we provide time capsule videos, giving people like yourself and clients in early days of recovery an opportunity to record messages of love and hope to their future self at a predetermined date to be discovered in the future. So, and that was born from my inspiration of my trip to America. I'd been doing it just with a video camera in the office at my I work at a rehabilitation centre here in Sydney called Glebe House. Best rehab in the world, mind you. Big plug for Glebe. But I was just recording clients with their permission. Well, I'd set up the camera by themselves, and I'd give them some questions that I'd get them to answer. And anyway, the idea was born after my trip to America. So I just want to give a shout out and say thank you so much to anyone from America watching, absolutely. But also, you guys inspire me amazingly,
It's funny you mentioned that, because I've got a letter sitting on my magnetized to my refrigerator right now that I wrote just before I'm home. I'm going to when I get off parole next year at this time, just for that very reason. Haven't opened it yet.
Now, imagine if you'd made a video using Encapsulator. I want you to know that I'm going to give you a credit, and you can do that for the next 12 months. We'll talk about that later.
Okay.
Mate, I don't know how long we've been live for. What time is it?
3 minutes. 3 minutes.
I was speaking to Lucas on my journey home from work. I've just finished work. I work 48-hour shifts unusually, but it's a great job because I get to live with the boys for 48 hours at a time. I get to sleep. I actually get paid to sleep, mind you. But
right.
I get to sleep too, but I get to live with them and really build some good relationships. And anyway, I was talking to Lucas on my journey home today, and he mentioned how, because I asked him, I think we were talking about what he wants to, about educating people more within the system, because it's very poor, that level of education. And I just want you to know too, funny enough, and it probably makes sense, but I'm connected with a whole bunch of people who are really passionate about that same thing, bringing people from custody back into society in a safe, humane, hopeful way. And I love that that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and one of the things that I do is that just like every community, we're talking about stigma reduction and things like that. I think the same thing applies, to those with a criminal history, because I think we've gotten too far direction on the punitive aspect of prison. If you locked me to Trump Towers today and told me that I couldn't come home for 27 years, I don't care what you were feeding me. I don't care how fancy the accoutrements are and things like that. It still keeps me from the things that matter the most. So punishment is a given when it comes to most of the guys in there have the thing that's lacking the most, and that's hope. And a lot of people in the recovery because they're clever. They reframe and rebrand stuff. One of the things that we do is we're hope dealers. Not dope dealers, we're hope dealers, and I think that's exactly needs to be going on back inside of the prisons too. Is not only saying, okay, get out here, we'll do this. While you're there, you matter, and start using that time to our advantage. And that's one of the things that Lucas has been able to kind of. And I love the things that he's doing, because Australia might follow a lead in some things. America needs to be following Australia's lead a little bit more with some of the stuff that they do with their institutions, because you're much more humanized there than we are here.
I know, mate. I watch a lot of crime television and that too. And let me just say, I've spent about 6 or 7 years locked away back in my day before I entered recovery, and I've got a little bit of experience in it. And I watch some of these shows, like even just Cops, and
Right.
And I don't mean to minimise anybody else's journey here in Oz, but I'm not cut out for crime in the States, that's for sure. You guys are hectic. That's my personal experience. Yeah, fuck that. Some crazy shit. We are truly blessed, and I'm somebody who expresses my gratitude all the time. I love Australia. I think actually you can't see, but I've got my flag represented behind me, but it's half the screen at the moment. That's actually our Indigenous flag, the Aboriginal flag, right above me. I'm very proud to wave that too, man. Yeah. So what I get, and what just came up for me then was that. And this is what I love that you and I can do, is that recovery is possible, I thought for a long time, Adam, that I was destined for a life of pain, hurt, and misery. And I'd kind of come to the okay that, all right, this is my life, this is the cards I've been dealt. Just do your best, Danny. But then back in September 2009, which is kind of similar, closer to your clean time too, I made a different decision for the first time in my life, and I didn't pick up that first drug. And a day at a time, so cliche, but a day at a time, one foot in front of the other, with a lot of help and asking for help, I've managed to get up over 11 and a half years sobriety. And I just want to share that message to the audience too. Anyone with a loved one, someone suffering, or if anyone wants any support or advice, where would somebody find you if they want to have a chat with you, Adam?
Well, they can reach me on theirlifematters500@gmail.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me. But I wanted to step back on what you were saying too about that idea of the one day at a time. And mine was, I talk about my recovery date as being 18 years ago, but in actuality, it started about 23 years ago, because sometimes you have to do this in phases too. I mean, I stopped drinking in 97, and I stopped doing most other substances by 99 or 2000, but I stopped doing all substances in 2003. And putting one foot in front of the other about doing better. It's not about doing perfect, doing better. And you hit the nail on the head, because at some point in time you have to realize that you're worth it. And I think about you talk about originals and flying. And I love that because, you know, I've got Native ancestry from over here. And I draw a lot from those philosophies. And I realized that one of the things that I thought that I was almost some kind of a Hyoka. And a Hyoka clown that did everything the opposite of what you were supposed to do and succeed. Yeah. So they would bait and they were things that they weren't. And so people in the tribe could look at him and that's if he's doing that, that's not what you should be doing. And the weird thing about it is that's what I was created to be. And it was like I seemed to do thing right. So apparently I would do things wrong. And I found out one day, somebody made me think about this, that if I can impact people's lives in a negative way, it only makes sense that I could impact them in a positive way. So I started doing that, and all of a sudden the next thing I knew is that was filling, and it was more natural for me than doing the wrong thing. I never knew who I was. I love the concept of recovery because it's not only about bringing our life, it's about the life we were meant to live.
And one of the biggest gifts of coming from maybe such a horrendous, torturous, horrible past is this ability when we're clean and a little bit sane to be able to share that message and connect with people on a level that I feel very grateful for that opportunity, you know? And I hear that in your voice too, Adam.
Yeah, I do. That's the thing that we were talking about that we share is this recovery community. We have a gratitude that is hard to you have to live it. Experience is one of those things that when you have it, you just room and people in their heads like, yep, I get it. You know,
not everyone in recovery has that, but I know who am I to say anything? But what I think is, like, if we take to have a bit of courage and reach out and share a bit of our message, sometimes that gratitude it's been my experience that when I share the message of recovery, I do feel that gratitude. Now, I think one of the things I talk about daily is about being brave and having some courage to sort of step out of that comfort zone because, well, as you and I both know, I guess that's a good place to be, you know.
My fiance bought some. She's been buying a bunch of stickers and stuff. Recovery is done by warriors. And one of the favorite ones that I've been able to pass out to, the people that we work with as well as the people that I work for is recovery is one of the most badass things you could ever do. Because it takes courage to be honest about this. It takes courage to face this stuff. A lot of the stuff that we were doing before that we thought was courage, badass was actually weak and small. Wasn't who we were at all. I mean, we both know right now that it takes some courage to do what we're doing and to go out there and slings and arrows from some people because we're willing to put ourselves in the forefront and say, yes, this is experience. But I want to do that so that some people who are earlier in recovery don't have to take those slings and arrows. So we can change the stigma, and so they have a little bit runway, to be able to stuff together.
I believe that thoroughly, mate. Absolutely. And cool, mate. Look, so one more time, where can people contact you?
Their Life Matters 500 at gmail.com. You can also look up the website where wholenessengineers.com. And I guess that's about it.
And guess what? There's one thing I watch a lot on these lives, and I love this question. I actually been really blessed to be interviewed quite a lot on the LinkedIn platform, and I just like to end with this. Like, is there something you'd like to say to the people out there, considering your journey and where your life's at today? Have you got any gold? Do you want to drop any nuggets of wisdom for us, Adam?
I don't know about nuggets of wisdom, but I'll drop a little something. It could sound pandering, but it's not. And we're on. And I want to thank all the people who've kind of allowed into the circle, and who to kind of work with me and exchange ideas. I've been able to pull things from that form. I mean, this has been a godsend in a lot of ways, especially because, like I said, COVID era, and I've been transparent. I put that in there because I wanted people to know what was going on with me. Still had about 15 people, who have accepted my invitation and who've been willing to work with me on different projects. And I think that everybody should give themselves a little bit of a pat on the back, for what they do. A lot of people don't realize what it is they do because they think, well, I'm just in this small corner of the world, or this, or I'm just that. Just as one of those that robs you of the credit that you have coming. Anything you do makes a difference. It's that ripple effect, the butterfly effect. So don't minimize the impact that you have on other people, because you don't even know exactly who I am right now. Impacted. I mean, look here. Danny and I are sitting here talking, and it's I think then I never would have met you under circumstances. I never would have met Luke and put the paperwork that we did and starting to push this convict criminology idea in Australia and in the States. This is an amazing platform, and there are people using it for a lot of good. So I appreciate everybody.
Adam, I absolutely love that. And you're so right. And I try and let people know we've all got a story, eh? Find your passion and share that stuff and acknowledge how well we've done, It's beautiful. Hey, before we go, Sarah, hey, Sarah dropped in to say hello. She mentioned that, oh yeah, this is beautiful. Love the hope dealers. Don't wait till they are out. Yeah, great. Hey, Sarah, thanks for joining us. Emma, thank you for your feedback around. Apparently, the echo is coming from my equipment, not yours. So we'll just blame me on that one. Again, thanks, Kenny. We've got people joining us from all over the world, Adam, which just touches on what you were just saying. It's an amazing platform to share our experiences. And I love that we can just find something that we're passionate about and share it with the world, mate. Adam, let's stay in touch, mate.
Without a doubt.
It's a pleasure, mate.
Yep. You too, man. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.